Hi there. So lovely to catch up with you all today. What a really nice session it was, all about personal branding. So I think what's really interesting about personal branding is it's all around us. So if you think about those business brands that you see every day, over 3,000 of them, think about how we can apply what big brands do to our own personal brand. So they very much protect their brand. They work very heavily on promoting them and brand management, brand reputation. So we need to think about that when it comes to our very own. So couple of examples that I can share with you today on clients who have maybe not quite got it right in terms of their own personal brand. So when I say clients, what I mean is over the years I've worked with lots and lots of different people, and they know when it comes to social media, people keep an eye on absolutely everything they do. So one particular client quite quickly had to change her Facebook account to a private setting so that not everybody, was aware what she was doing at the weekend or where she was going on holiday or, her family time. So it was really important that the persona that she wanted to portray and in the public domain was quite different to that of the persona that she had with her family and friends. So we did have to do quite a little bit of work in making sure that all of those settings were private, but actually the ones that she did keep public were the ones that she wanted people to see what she was, her almost like a professional personal brand. So a couple of things that I wanted to speak to you about was when it comes to your personal brand, what do you want people to think, feel, and emote about you? So, what would you, if you went into a networking room, or you met someone on a bus, how would you like them to describe you to the next person that they meet? So, I always say when I'm talking to people, what do you want people to say about you when you leave the room? What words would you want them to use to describe you? So, if you think maybe honest, authentic, genuine, and maybe fun, quirky, formal, whatever that is. I'm hoping that after today's session, what you're going to do is start really playing around with some words that describe you best because your personal brand is so important. It's important should you ever want to go for funding. It's important if you head to a networking event and it would be that, those first impressions. What do you want people to think about you? So there's lots of different reasons why it's important to think about what your personal profile, brand profile is and how you want to be perceived by other people. So what I have come across over the years is when it comes to my own personal brand profile, I want people to see me as professional. I want people to see me as trustworthy. I hopefully, when I put out content across my social media platforms and on my website, that's the message that people get. So it's unlikely that what people will see is, maybe some videos or footage of me, rolling at a taxi at 1 o'clock on a Saturday morning, because that's not really the brand profile that I want to perceive. I want to, really, really work at making sure that people, yes, they see the real me, but actually it's a version that I want people to see that's professional and it's trustworthy and that I'm knowledgeable in my area of expertise. So have a think about yours. A really good way to do this is to look at maybe celebrities. So there's a long list of celebrities, whether it's musicians or artists, who have managed to, do a pretty good job at raising their personal brand profile and protecting it. So they might not do certain brand endorsements. I wanted to give you an example of a mummy blogger that I knew. So she was brilliant, and a lot of big brands used her, including TK Maxx, on some Pampers and kids wear companies. But she was very, very clear about what she would and wouldn't endorse because it had to sit well with her brand. And the similar, in similar vein, I would only work with clients that kind of were aligned with my values and where I feel that there's a good brand fit. I wouldn't work with clients where I thought that there was a risk of damaging my brand reputation. So what I want you to do is kind of like keep an eye on the news agenda. keep an eye on certainly what's happening around the royal family just now. This is really interesting because, now what's coming out in the media is that actually Prince Harry was very honest and it was important for him to, share that account of, what he thought his life was like in the royal family. And so now there's a little bit of debate around, well, actually, at least Harry was being honest about his life in the royal family. Whereas, some people are saying that, interestingly, the situation around the royals at the moment, and Prince William is still talking on podcasts and various different places about the importance of loving yourself and looking after people. So yeah, there's a lot of discussion around this at the moment, so keep an eye on it. It's really, really interesting. And yes, celebrities. So celebrities who do it well and celebrities who might not get it quite right. There's a lot of learnings there, and I've seen it. I've seen it so many times. I've seen it with personal brands. I've seen it with business brands. And, it can take years and years and years to build a brand, and it can literally take seconds to kill it overnight. And that could be just as a result of a response on social media. It could be, a rant that you've got involved in on social media in the public domain. And then, people can quite quickly change their opinion of you. So just to think about, how would people, describe you? And if this is really tricky, which I know it can be, why don't you ask maybe three people that you trust, and ask them to describe you. So if, just describe you as if you were a sort of business brand. So if you think about Nike, it's very much about innovation and being dynamic, and everyone's an athlete. So kind of look at some of the brands that you like and have get really into the mindset of how they describe themselves as a brand. They pay a lot of money for people to tell us about their brand values and positioning and on their brand identity, and they'll hope that we will say exactly what we do about their particular brand. So one of the really high profile names that I would really like you to have a look at is Banksy. Now, I find his work fascinating. I always have. And Banksy is, some people call him like a guerrilla artist, and it's kind of guerrilla art, stunt-led art. But I think what's really interesting about him is this, the mystery around him, the masked artist. So what do you think about Banksy and his work? But actually, what do you think about his brand? He wants people to see him, to have that kind of mystery around, where does he live? Who is he? Is he a musician? And where did he come from and his backstory? So definitely have a look at this. Have a look at some of his artwork. There's one particular famous piece, The Girl with the Balloon, and it was really interesting because it sold at an auction for 1 million, and then part of his kind of marketing and PR and stunt-led way that he does things, they shredded the artwork. So the minute it was sold, they shredded this particular piece of art at the auction. And this is all very much part of what he does and why he does it. And it's part of his personal brand profile. Some would say he's a vandal. Some would say that he's just incredibly, incredibly talented, and it's different. It's stunt led. It can be quite political. Others refer to him as an environmentalist and someone who's trying to get these really serious messages across about anti-war and looking after the environment. So, we would say is he maybe an eco artist that's, gone global. Global. Celebrities love him. And Brad Pitt, to name but one, but there's so many. So I think check out a little bit about Banksy and check out some of his work. What I would say is I have given you an article that appeared in the BBC, which should really explain quite a little bit about his background and this this massive, huge global brand that he's built around, not quite knowing who he is. And yeah, it's a really interesting one. So what I would want you to do, hopefully, when you've watched you could watch some videos, you can find lots about Banksy online. But what I want you to do is read this BBC article and have a think about whether it would make a difference or not if he was unmasked. So what I'm asking is, just so that we can have a little bit of a chat around this when we catch up on the last session, just have a think about what would it make a difference? I mean, he's incredibly talented, so whether he revealed who he was or not, would it make a difference? Or is this kind of, not knowing and constantly guessing and wondering part of who he wants to remain, and the chances of ever unmasking himself would be very, 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 very unlikely, I think, because he's gone this far. So have a look, see what you think. Let's chat about it in the last session. I'm really, really looking forward to catching up with you in the very last session. And yes, bring any questions that you have, because I'm hoping that that session will be a nice little recap. And if there's anything that maybe we haven't covered, or anything that you want me to go over, or if there's any questions, then bring them and we will catch up on the final one. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this video, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Take care.